So look, David, thank you very much for coming along.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for asking me to come up.
Thank you. We're doing basically a series of interviews where we're talking to people about their background, what they're up to, what they're doing, and where they hope to move forward. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your educational aspect of what led you to where you are now.
Educational aspect, I don't really have an educational background in hypnosis per se. There's no real formal education that you could do to acquire some sort of merit or certificate within hypnotherapy, say, or hypnosis. There is, but they are very easy to come by. For example, if I want to go and learn, become a master practitioner in NLP, I could do that in 7 days for an extortionate fee of around £5,000-6,000. That doesn't sit well within me to go. I don't think that's a good metric to be using to determine how good I am at what it is that I do.
Would you say you've done what would be classed as an apprenticeship, where you kind of trained underneath somebody else, or?
Well, there was people that I had as role models as I started learning hypnosis. Because what happened was, my mum is a clinical hypnotherapist. She went down the traditional avenue of learning hypnosis. So I had all her literature and everything that she had acquired, and I could sift through that and pick pieces from the old way of learning hypnosis. And in the old way, there is, it's almost like a formula-based approach, where it's perceived that if you do X, Y, Z, and then you'll get this result, and it has to be in that order, and these sorts of things. So that's an easily testable method. Mm-hmm. So then a lot of people have come along and said, well, if I remove this aspect to it, then hypnosis shouldn't work. And they found out that by removing the vast majority of what was once perceived to be a necessary requirement, they could remove all this stuff and still achieve the hypnotic phenomena, the hypnotic experience. So it was. I think it was important for me to learn the origins of where it all came from, and then there's people that I learned from. Because what happened was I started learning hypnosis purely out of curiosity, not knowing what aspect I wanted to pursue, whether that be in the therapy aspect or whether that be performance based. But it quickly became apparent that the performance based aspect was more appealing to me at the time. So I incorporated magic with that, and that seemed like a natural progression. Not so much just magic or sleight of hand magic, but more mentalism, because it fits the role of hypnosis. It coincides with hypnosis and a lot. But so I started to learn magic, and then I began performing and utilizing hypnosis. And what happened was that was a very brief moment in time for me to learn hypnosis. I spent a few years doing that, and then to incorporate the magic, and then create this, become this mentalist, as it's termed. And then when I did that, I was hypnotizing. This guy asked me, "Could you help me quit smoking?" Now I did not study any sort of hypnosis for people to quit smoking or people to do whatever it is they wanted to do originally. But he was really intrigued by it. So I remember doing this. It's called a hand to face induction, where someone's hand, they're looking at their hand, and the hand starts to come in slowly and it drifts closer and closer. And they close their eyes and they're meant to go into this deeply hypnotic state. But I remember saying to him, as that hand moves closer, just notice that your mind is opening up to the possibility of you becoming a non-smoker, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, his hand couldn't move. And I found this interesting. So I was like, what's happening for you now? And he said, I can't move my hand.
Was that a block that he was having? Because you'd obviously given him instruction. Was that a block that his mind was somehow putting in the way, or was he accepting what you were saying to him? What was the influence, do you think?
Could have been a number of things, but I think that whenever I said that when your mind begins to open up to the possibility of you becoming a non-smoker now,
that was his block.
That was his block, yeah. So, but then there was that opened a lot of doors for me. You know, this is something that's really powerful, you know, because he wasn't playing along at all. He couldn't move his hand. It wasn't that he couldn't move his hand at all, either way. He said it was stuck. So I wish I had recorded it.
And what's interesting, because I mean, what I'm actually discovering, having been a lecturer and been trained as a lecturer, that if you're forcing people into an environment where they have to study, they feel very frustrated, and they will put up sort of blocks that they can't do things. Mm-hmm. They can't work the way that you want them to. But as soon as you stop and analyze what they're interested in and see what motivates them, then you can help build upon that sort of. So would your techniques be something similar to that, do you think, where you're building upon, you're discovering who they are, what they're, and then building upon what their needs are maybe at that point?
Sure. Well, my whole approach is that, see, it varies depending on what it is I'm working with. If we take someone who wants to overcome any fears or phobias, then the most important aspect for change to be achieved is for them to approach that particular thing voluntarily. So, as an example, a lady afraid of elevators, of lifts, and the method or the approach to assisting her in overcoming that would be to sit down very close to an elevator and just watch people going in and out. And then this is an actual case that I'm working with here. So this lady found that alone to be difficult. To watch people going into this elevator was stressful. And we went back a few days later and done the same thing, and then we went back a few days later and we went up this time and pushed the button. Then we went back a few days later and we went up and pushed the button, and she walked in and walked out. So this is slowly progressing from sitting back and watching people do it, to walking up and approaching the elevator, to walking in then knowing that she was able to come right back out, until the point where she got into the elevator and pushed the button to only one floor, but all the same this was something that she never done in her whole life. So that was, so it's important that anyone who wishes to make changes, that they voluntarily agree to participate in that.
And I think what's quite good is that's actually following, again, some of the principles that I would do. That if you've got a big task that needs to be, if you break it down into small component parts and show the little steps that you can take to achieve those goals, you can actually eventually achieve those goals. So that's a very interesting sort of concept, which I think, you know, I would be using quite a bit as a lecturer. Mm-hmm. So I think, and again, I think in a previous conversation, what you're trying to do is work with people, and once you can get inside their psyche, it's giving them the confidence that they will effectively believe in what you're doing. Would you say that's?
I'd say there's an element of that. Yeah, they would have to. But I think it's important that I demonstrate to them that I'm able to assist them in some way. So I know this is somewhat difficult to explain, but my whole approach with change work is that at no point do I put any of my interpretations forward. I don't try to influence anyone. I don't tell them what I think the best option is, which is the complete opposite to standard to like psychology or any sort of other therapy. There's always that aspect of you should try this or you should do this or do that. I take a clean approach where I have no direct input into what it is that they must do in order to achieve them. I'm just facilitating the process and allowing them to experience difference. And that to me is that's the key point to achieving change in any aspect of life.
We have more on the way, so please subscribe to this channel and check out the link below if you'd consider becoming a patron to help us keep making more content. Thanks for watching.